Very good.
So here we go. Father God, thank you so much for today. I thank you so very much for the rain that we've just had here in Eclectic. I thank you so much for our Randy, our bee inspector, who makes a special effort to come and check out our place and check out our bees and make sure that we're in compliance with things that we're supposed to be. Thank you so much for his spirit. He's such a fun-spirited person. Thank you so much for our association. Thank you for each person that's represented tonight. We've got an awesome crowd tonight. I'm so excited to be a part of this Zoom meeting. Thank you so much for loving us. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your forgiveness. Thank you for your son, Jesus. In his name I pray, amen. Okay, here we go. So we're going to start with Randy is going to introduce himself, and we're going to try this way, and we're going to see if it will work this way.
Hi, I'm Randy. I'm the supervisor of the apiary section, Department of Agriculture, and we're here at Allison Andrews' bee yard today, and gonna just show you how I do an inspection and maybe show you an alcohol wash, and then the way I understand it, we're gonna have a little discussion tonight and answer some questions. So we're ready to rip.
All right, sounds good.
About the migratory lid, and what I wanted to show you is a little trick that I've been using over the years. When you go in a hive, of course, I'm always looking for disease, any signs of varroa mite, hive beetle. But this is a good little trick. Some of you may already use it to give you an idea of how many hive beetles, if any, you have in your hive. So what I do is I take the lid. Telescoping lid works a little bit better than this, but this works fine. I've gotten in the habit over the years of taking that lid and turning it upside down and just throwing it on the ground. And now as we unstack, I'm gonna stack on top of that lid, and any beetles that might be in that box are going to be driven down to the lid. And this one's got a hole in it, so a few of them may escape through that hole, but it gives you some idea, especially a telescoping lid. Sometimes as you stack your boxes while you're working it, and then you restack, by the time you get down to the lid, you might have a ton of beetles down there that you never really knew you had.
Okay.
Okay, we're pulling the first frame, and what I really wanted to make clear, especially to beginners, is the book teaches you, and mentors will teach you to start from the side in, and that's correct. But I usually, if the situation allows, smoke me there a little bit. You can pull from the middle as long as you don't drag, but always pull that first frame very, very slowly. I mean, agonizingly slow, because you don't know, she could be on there, the queen, and so you just don't want to drag her up. So now we got the first frame, and that looks really good. Looks really good. Bees are calm on the frame. The brood looks nice and tight, consistent. The whole time I'm also looking for withered wings, any signs of varroa mite, which I'm not really seeing right at the moment. Yeah, they're being real nice. Now I have trouble seeing eggs anymore, but I don't see any fresh eggs on this frame. But if you don't see the queen in person, you want to at least make sure that there's evidence of her. So we're going to leave this frame out. Let me shake some of those bees off. After you shake the bees off, sometimes you can get a better look at that brood. That brood looks really good. So I'm going to set this frame aside. Still haven't seen the queen, but we see evidence of the queen, which is just as good when you're inspecting. Still see brood in nice tight clusters in certain areas. This time of year, it's not surprising to see it a little bit scattered. And a lot of times they'll be backfilling behind the ones that have hatched out if you're feeding.
Which we are.
Or if something's
And you
out
better
there.
be. Did you kiss Sting?
And well, that one got me twice. That ain't supposed to happen.
I don't think that happened. I think it was 2 different ones.
What we're going to do today also is an alcohol wash. That's a good way to determine what your varroa mite load might be, or you know, is approximately. It's not real scientific, but it gives you an idea whether you don't have very many at all or you got way too many. As scientific as that sounds. So what we want to do is pull a frame from the brood, make sure the queen's not on it, because what we're going to do is we're going to knock them into this box over here, and we're going to scoop up a half a cup of bees. Now this is what you're going to need to do an alcohol wash. They sell one-piece units now that are kind of handy, and a lot of people use those. I'm still going old school. I just have a mason jar with a number 8 hardware cloth screen, and of course you got to have your solid lid. I'll explain that in a second. And then your standard Cool Whip bowl, which is a good thing to count the mites as you shake them out. Any receptacle will work. It's best if it's white. That way you can see it better. This is a measuring cup, quarter cup of bees. So I'm going to shake these bees into this box, and we're going to take 2 scoops, which is more or less 150 bees, and then I'll show you the actual shake. So so now what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to dump these bees into this tub, take 2 scoops, put them in that jar, and then we're going to go to shaking. So when the bees are fairly calm, they're not going to fly away. We want to make double sure that the queen's not in here.
You've got 3 sets of eyes. 1,
That's right.
2, 3.
That's right. Usually the queen, if you happen to shake her in, you can see her pretty easily. This is what we do for the National Honeybee Survey all the time. So, and these are calm, but they usually start spreading out like that. I just bump them down.
And they sacrifice their life.
1 scoop.
Shoot a monkey. Go ahead.
Sacrificing their life for science. Let me get just a little bit more. 2 scoops is what you want, but you want 2 pretty good scoops.
You good?
That is more or less. Are we still on?
Yep.
Yeah, that is more or less 300 bees. So now we're going to take the solid lid, and I need to get I hate the ones that have this insert, but anyway,
I'll get you a plastic.
and this thing's been used so much I can't even hardly screw it down. Secure your lid tight and just shake it. Shake it for a couple of minutes now. Shake it good and hard.
Turn off while you shake for a little bit, and we'll come back on when you pour it out.
Don't just do this. I mean, put some elbow into it.
They're dying anyway, folks. Sorry to say it.
All right, now we've been shaking these for 3-4 minutes. My arm's tired. So now what we want to do is switch lids, go to a screen lid. The idea being, we're going to shake the mites that have come loose into our Cool Whip bowl, and of course the bees will stay inside. So you just,
The dead bees.
the bees that have sacrificed their life, and lo and behold,
Let that bee get out.
you want to put the lid back on. That happens every time. Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live.
I see 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 mites.
Is that good, Randy?
Well, the threshold, 5 mites out of 300 bees is what? Maybe 2%? Who's good at math?
Not me. Jimmy?
5 mites, 200 bees.
300 bees. Bees into the Cool Whip, and you'll only see 3 varroa mites. How many, Randy?
3. I concur.
So how many? That's 1%.
3 mites out of approximately 300 bees, so that's a 1%, which is good.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Okay, this this is a nice frame. It's textbook. You got a nice tight pattern. You have honey on the sides. I do want to point one thing out. This is something I look for. I don't know if they can see this. This is just a very little bit of it, but if you see uncapped cells that are at the purple-eye stage or just before, that's a hygienic behavior of your bees. They're sensing that there's some varroa mite in there, so they are uncapping. And that disrupts the life cycle of the, so you'll see this from time to time. It'll usually just be scattered and little bits here and there.
And that is the bee's way of helping control the varroa mites.
That's right. So it's actually a good thing to see a little bit of, now see, that's just a little bit. There's just 3 or 4, like they're just
and
sort
there
of.
may be a, is that a varroa mite on there?
I don't know, my eyes aren't good enough. But
I got a pretty good video. So
see, they've uncapped that one.
Yeah.
And that one. That is hygienic behavior, and to see a little bit of it is good. That means they've got some, if you pull frame after frame after frame and there's a bunch of that, then if you hadn't already, you better treat or at least do an alcohol wash.
Somebody needs to be cleaning off those top frames.
This is all honey, or gonna be honey, so.
All right, we're done with this one.
I just got done pulling the last box off this lid. We don't see any beetles, so that's good.
Atta girl!
Like I said, you never really know how many hive beetles you have in a hive, and that's a good way of.
Okay, folks, that's the end of our video session. Now, who has questions? Randy, are you still there?
I'm still here. I was trying to take a nap, but
what? Wake it up!
Who
does anybody have any questions for Randy? Can everybody hear us? Chris, do you yeah, okay. Let me give you the rules for asking a question. You need, when you say I have a question, you need to say this is so and so, and I have a question for Randy, and then if he cannot hear you, then we will I'll repeat your question.
This is Ben. I have a question for Randy.
Okay, Ben, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, yes, I can. No matter what you come up with on your mite load, is it still a good idea to treat anyways?
It is. You know, in years past, we didn't really recommend that you treat unless it was necessary. But it is just about getting to where you just about need to treat your bees for varroa mite. You know, because you got them. And, you know, a lot of people like to go chemical free, and that's okay. But sooner or later, you're gonna pay the price if you don't treat. So we do pretty much recommend treating. But now if you're real involved and you do plenty of alcohol washes and you're below that 3% threshold, you can hold on and just, you know, see how they do. So does that answer your question? Or?
Yeah, I got another question as well, if I may.
Sure.
We're looking at doing the towel method with oxalic acid and glycol.
Right.
What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I don't, from what I know, talking to the Dr. Williams here at Auburn, he told me that they're doing research on that, and that actually has not been an approved method, by the way. There's still some research being done on that, and but Dr. Williams told me that their first trial runs with it were pretty much inconclusive. So that's kind of a government term for they didn't know if it was doing any good or not. the way I read that. But bear in mind, you know, that has not been approved yet as an application method. At least in Alabama, it hasn't. Are you following me?
Well, so what you're saying is don't do it.
No, don't do it until we have a little bit more research and it's been approved. And we should have some more results coming. They're working with Georgia and some folks down in Florida. And there's even a few beekeepers here in Alabama that are participating in tests on that. So let's just give it a little bit of time and let's wait and see what kind of a formulation works the best. Anytime you're doing something like that, you know, it's easy to have too much of the product in the shop towel. And so it has to be fairly precise if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's, you know, some of the things I've noticed are like 31 grams, which is equal to about 9/10 of an ounce of the glycol. So it's about a 50-50 mixture. And then you've got to really squeeze out that towel so that it weighs 31 grams itself.
Nobody else probably knows.
Yeah. Well, you know more about it than I do because I don't even know the math part of it yet. I try to make sure people understand when things are approved method or not. I understand we all want to get rid of mites and beetles and everything, but we still pretty much have to use approved products, you know, at the approved rate. And most people know this, but if you rotate products, that helps a lot. That helps more than you realize. You know, treat one time with ApiGuard and next time with ApiBar or Oxalic. You know, do your 3 treatments and then try something different.
You're talking about like mixing up your prophylaxis.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
So you're saying mix up the treatments?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, rotate, use different products. Yeah, I mean, there's a gazillion products out there for varroa mite treatment. Now, a lot of them have temperature requirements. Most of them do. Most of them you have to have the honey supers removed. So there's a lot of limitations on just about every product. But if you're within limitations, rotate that product. That way they won't become resistant to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else got a question for Randy?
Yeah, Randy, I'm Shannon. I have a question about the bee inspector. So say you come out to my colony and you see something really bad like chalk brood or something that has to be taken care of. What steps do you take?
Hi, Shannon. It's really not as bad as you think. The only thing excuse me, my voice is really dry. The only thing we actually regulate and can take any type of action is for American foul brood. That's what I'm mainly looking for. That's the #1 bad guy. Thankfully, we don't see it much anymore. When I started in 1989, we'd see it in about 10 to 15% of the beekeepers that we checked. And now it's consistently below 5%. So, and I've talked that up to beekeepers being better educated, more involved, meetings like this. Beekeepers are light years away from the ones I first met early in my career. I remember meeting beekeepers that couldn't even read or write. And they just kept bees by the seat of their pants. And they did whatever their daddy or granddaddy did. And, you know, and they didn't really understand what they were doing. So, you know, kudos to most new beekeepers. for educating yourself. But anyway, so if
Excellent
we don't find
answer.
foul brood,
Does anybody
hang
else
on,
have
I'm
a
not done.
question?
I guess I am done.
I would like to ask a question. This is Allison.
Certainly. Hi,
I would
Allison.
Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Hey, I would like for you to address the Africanized bee situation in the state of Alabama.
Okay. Yeah, that's always a good subject. As of right now, we do not have an Africanized population in the state of Alabama. In other words, they are not established. There's no wild colonies. We've been trapping down around the ports and at the Birmingham and Huntsville airports probably for about 12 years now. And over those 12 years, we probably only had 2 or 3 samples that we collected, swarm samples, that were actually positive. So we figured they just came in on freight. Those swarms were killed. And we've had another issue or two, over the years. One guy bought some queens out of Texas, and a couple of the queens turned out to have Africanized genes in them. And so those queens and any of the hives that the guy had, all the hives that had those queens from that batch the guy had bought, those were all destroyed. So we're on top of it as best we can. I never will forget what Jerry Hayes told me. He was the old apiary state apiarist in Florida. Some of y'all may have met him years ago. Because I asked him one time, I said, does trapping work? He said, well, it gives you a good indicator of what's out there. He said, but what we really noticed when the Africanized honeybee, they've got it in Florida, about 2/3 of the way up the peninsula. So really up to about a little bit north of Tampa. And if you drew a line along I-4 corridor, that's about the limit of where they're at right now. But anyway, he said they saw a very noticeable uptick in swarms in meter boxes, like way above average. Now, every year, you folks, I'm sure, get calls every now and then. You'll have a few, and it doesn't mean they're African, just swarms like those meter boxes. It's dark, it's cool, nobody ever bothers them. So they really like those meter boxes if they're not a huge swarm and they can fit in there. But Africans really like them. And so you'll see a large uptick in the number of swarms in meter boxes. Also, you'll just get more reports on animal kill, stinging incidences, on people. And he said it becomes apparent pretty quick when you're dealing with the real thing. So, we trap, but that's just, that's just one little piece of the puzzle. We're very aware of, or we try to be of what's going on. And sometimes we'll get calls on hot hives and we may go take a sample and I'll run a screening test on those. And if they turn out hot on my end, then I'll send them down to Gainesville or out to Tucson, and they'll do a little bit of further testing on them. So far so good on the Africanized bee situation. We may never get them, or hell, they may be here next year. 2020, the way 2020 is going, hell, they might be here this year. You know what I mean? So, but we don't think so. We don't really know, but we don't think so. There's a lot of things in play in their movement, and their movement has been really slow the last couple of years, and we're not sure why that is. But temperature, rainfall, humidity, all those things play into how well they acclimate to a certain environment. Because we never really thought we'd see them in Florida because it rains every day there. And these things have African genes. They're used to, arid, totally dry climate. That's why they went west when they got into the south part of Texas.
Randy, I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear him?
I'm sorry.
Hear him fine.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I can hear him.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, let me know. Anyway, yeah, when they hit Brownsville, Texas, we didn't know whether they were going to come our way or go out west, and they actually took a left and went out west and did for years. I think they hit Brownsville in, can anyone remember? I think it was 1990 is when we first started seeing them in the U.S. So anyway, and then I think in the year 2010, they found some in Miami, and they've been slowly going north since then for the last 10 years. But the last couple of years, they've sort of stalled out. So that's good news. So I didn't mean to go on and on about it, but that's an important subject.
Yes, it
That
is.
could affect all of us.
That's right.
welcome.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Jerry, do you have a question?
Well, I know I'll say no. I really don't have a question. I'll just say that Randy was at my place. I think a week ago Thursday. A real knowledgeable guy. I love having him here. Showed me a few things like that. We did the alcohol wash on 2 out of my 5 hives, and now there were way more than what you have, Alice. So I've got to treat mine.
Well, I think that's important to do that. So I'm glad that Randy did it. And I suggest if you don't do it, if you don't get him to do it, we can, all of us can, not all of us, but we can show you how to do it. It's very easy to do. It does kill your bees.
Right.
So you sacrifice your bees, but that's important. It's important to do. It's important to check them. That's how you stay on top of them, is if you check them. If you don't check them, you're not going to stay on top of them.
I've watched YouTube videos on how to do an alcohol wash, and I was a little hesitant about doing it. But when I seen Randy do it, I mean, it was super easy to do, and it was not hard. There was nothing hard about doing it. Like I said, the only thing you're going to lose, a handful of bees, but it's going to save the hive in the end.
There are ways you can do it without using the alcohol wash. You can do a powdered sugar wash.
Right.
Randy, can you talk about a powdered sugar wash or a powdered sugar drop?
Yeah, it's the same process, but instead of using alcohol, you use powdered sugar. But the problem with the powdered sugar test is, what powdered sugar does in humidity? It cakes up. So it's kind of a pain, but when you shake
it's likely to kill the bees as well.
It can. It for sure makes them really mad. So sometimes a dead bee is better than a pissed off one. Excuse my language. So anyway, so what you have to do with that powdered sugar is when you dump it out on a piece of wax paper or whatever to count your mites, you're going to have to, I use a bottle with some misting water and just kind of melt that powdered sugar away, and then your mites will become, but it's not as effective. There's been research on that, and I've done a little bit on my own, and it just doesn't seem to get as many mites as the alcohol wash does. So some people don't like killing bees, I don't either, but it's a half a cup of bees, 300 bees. And if a hive's not strong enough to withstand losing that many, it's not a good colony anyway. So it is worth it to at least do it a couple times a year. When it's really good to do it is if you got the time and the energy, do a wash before you treat, and then do a wash after you treat, and that way you can tell if it's doing any good or not. It'll open up your eyes.
Excellent idea. Excellent idea.
Right.
What's the
So
efficacy?
you can use powdered sugar, but I'm sorry?
The efficacy of the sticky sheets. I got some of those, and of course you're supposed to multiply you know, however many
Yeah,
mites
there's
per
all
square.
yeah, there's all kind of math involved in that. No, that works okay. You know, that's based on natural fall. Here again, your alcohol wash is going to be your most not effective. What's the word I'm searching for? You know, it's going to give you the
Accurate, yeah.
yes, the most
number.
accurate. The sticky board, it works. It's better than not doing anything. You know, use a magnifying glass. You know, I don't know the math chart on that, but it depends on what time of year you use that sticky board, because it's just based on natural depth. And at different times of the year, you're gonna have a different mite load in there naturally. And so, in the fall, the number goes up, the threshold number goes up. I'm afraid I'm just confusing everybody with all this, but anyway, let me put it this way: if you pull that sticky board out after 24 hours, and you see mites on there, and it looks like someone shook red pepper onto your sticky board, that's a bad thing. If you just see a few, you're probably going to be okay, especially if it's in the fall. That's when the mite population is at its peak.
Okay.
So yes, it works better than doing nothing. You know, for sure.
Randy,
sure.
can you tell me the reason why I sent out a thing in our newsletter about registering our hives with the state, which is you? Could you tell me why we do that? What's the importance of that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because every time I do a program, I try to explain to people why, you know, why it is we do that.
You just stop.
And it is state law. Even if you have one colony or 500 colonies, doesn't matter. It's fairly cheap if you have, you know, 10 or less colonies. It's $4 a year, and that's it. Renewable once a year. The reason we do that is to make a working list, so we know who in the state has honeybees and where they're located. Because if we had an outbreak, just kind of like this COVID thing going on, if we had an outbreak of American foul brood, you know, we would know, hopefully, who's registered around the area that had the disease. So we could immediately check the surrounding area to make sure it hadn't spread that bad, and then we would ask about any contacts. It's a lot like COVID. I mean, and here again, I'm talking about American foul brood. Nothing else is as bad as that. We all have beetles and varroa mite and even viruses. You know, there's a bunch of viruses that bees can get, and most people have at least 2 of those: withered wing and varroa destructor virus. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're doing excellent. I'm so excited about this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Good. Well, I forgot what my topic was.
Well, Randy, this is Shannon again. Going back to the foul brood, let's say you see a case of foul brood. What do you do? What intervention do you take?
Okay, well, we were talking about registration, and then I'll hit the foul brood question. So, yeah, please register your colonies. It is state law, but we don't put you in jail if you don't. If you're late, there's a 40-cent late fee, I think. You know, and now we're able to renew online. Has anybody tried the online?
George, did you?
No.
Works great. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I did it this year. It's fine.
Is it pretty user friendly, as far as you know?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it's
Okay, good.
it's intuitive for computer nerds. How about that?
Yeah, well, we've always been a little bit behind the times at the department, but anyway, so that's a new option, very easily done, and again, like I said, it is state law, so please register your colonies. And please tell new beekeepers to register, and tell them what a nice guy I am. And really, I feel more of like an extension agent than I do a regulator. So, yeah, at least that's the way I approach my job. Now, if I do find foul brood in a beehive,
And he's very nice. He's very kind. He's very funny.
yes, but this is the part you're not going to like. If I find American foul brood in your hive and it's confirmed by the lab, then you will have to destroy that. You will have to burn that hive and all associated equipment with that one hive. Now, say you have 10 hives and 3 of them, we go through 3 of them and they've all 3 got it. Well, just now, a lot of times I'll talk to the beekeeper and say, look, I've seen this American foul brood my whole career, and I know it when I see it. But if you don't believe me, we can wait on lab confirmation, which takes about a week. By the time I send it there, they do it, and they send the results back. So that's 1 more week you're sitting there with infected equipment. So, but I give you the option. If you want to wait for lab confirmation, we can do that. But I recommend you reducing the entrance of that hive down to almost as tight as you can get it, letting 1 bee at a time in and out.
Randy, can I ask you something about that?
Yes.
Say, you know how close Kathy and I are to each other.
Right.
What happens if I have that? Do you notify Kathy?
Yes,
Or
I would
vice
go
versa?
in that, Kathy being as big as she is, and of course she sells to the public.
Right.
Absolutely. I would make a personal visit, and we would go through a bunch of her hives.
Very good.
Just to make,
Yeah,
just to
I
make
was
sure.
saying if I had it, you would notify her, because that is one of the
Absolutely.
reasons why we are that way, because that's her livelihood, and it's not fair for me to have it and A, not to treat for it, and B, that's good. I'm glad that's a very important thing. That's one of the main reasons why we register our hives.
That's exactly right. In fact, that is the main reason, starting way back when.
Right.
Before they even had bee inspectors. The foul brood was running rampant, just wiping beekeepers out. So the state came in and said, we got to regulate this to keep this disease down. And that's really was the impetus of us being, born as an inspection group.
Excellent.
But thankfully, like I said, we don't see that much of it now.
Can I ask how many cases maybe you've seen so far this year?
This year, believe it or not, I have seen 0. But now I'm not doing that many random inspections like I used to.
And
but we're
you're
doing
not
the
the
honey.
only, and you're not the only inspector.
That's right. That's right. But really, statewide, I think maybe we've had 1 case is all. So it's very, very low. But
That's
every
good news.
beekeeper needs to know. Every beekeeper needs to know what it looks like, what the symptoms are, and if you ever think that you might have it, and you're not sure, and you don't have a mentor or another pair of eyes close by, please call me. Well, call me anyway, because I can be your determining call on that.
And
'Cause I
we're
get
going
calls
to
a lot of
post.
times.
We are going to post all of his information, all of his contact information. You can, of course, call Kathy or myself or Stacy, and we will take care of. We will get y'all taken care of. That's our job, as our privilege to be in the position that we're in, is to take care of our people and our bees, our people's bees, and that's one of the things that we pride ourselves in doing, is trying to keep our organization tight and the communication line open. So that's a great.
Yeah. Right. And if you think you might have foul brood and you can't get a hold of one of them, you can call me. But ultimately, I need to be notified one way or the other.
A lot of times something as simple as a picture, if you just send a picture text to that frame to your mentor or to Randy or to anyone in your association, we'll find someone who can look at it and say, this is definitely not foul brood, or hey, it might be, let me come have a look, right?
That's exactly right. Now, I've had beginners send me pictures of pollen, entombed pollen, which is dark and kind of gooey looking, but it's in an uncapped cell. So a lot of times beginners, they don't remember the fundamental that American foul brood occurs in capped cells. European foul brood, which is closely related but is not as deadly, European foul brood occurs in open cells. That's something you always need to remember. Because I've gotten pictures of pollen and just everything under the sun with people thinking they've got American foul brood, which is good. I don't mind getting those pictures, but it just shows, you know, some people, they're either not going to meetings or they're just not figuring out, you know, what the disease is. But most people have never seen it, which is a good thing. But unfortunately, my job has required me. I've seen it, you know, all throughout my career. So it's not anything you want to get in your bees, and it doesn't make you a bad beekeeper if you get it either. I mean, it's just something they pick up in the environment. And, you know, the thing to do is to find it, recognize it, and eradicate it. And you'll be a lot more successful, you know, if that happens. So please remember that and write down my contact numbers and all that stuff. We don't mind you calling.
We will always have that posted. We continue to post that. That's in our newsletter. We'll have it on our Facebook page. And ultimately, Randy may be busy the time you call, so leave a message for him. He is a texter. He can text, so we can do that as well. And he will call you back. He may be, you know, like I said, he might be in a few hours or whatever, but Randy has always been very, very good about being in close contact with us when we try to contact him. So, attaboy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else have a question?
I got a comment. This is Kathy.
Kathy, hey Kathy.
Kathy!
Kathy, we can't hear you.
That you can test to see if you've got European or American foul brood if you're just in complete panic mode also. A picture's usually a lot quicker, but there is a test kit that you can use. It's like $10 or $12 that can test for whether you've got European or American foul brood also.
Excellent.
Kathy,
excellent.
Kathy, do you sell those by any chance?
We do. We keep them on hand. We do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we are, as a regulatory agency, we're not allowed to use them, but beekeepers can certainly, you know, use them. That's one more tool. And thanks for mentioning that.
Right. Well, also because you have to have a prescription now to treat European foul brood. A lot of vets are taking that test kit, and you can actually prove that you have it, so they'll write your prescription too.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's excellent point. That's right. That's right. So,
Any other questions? Come on, y'all. Don't be shy.
Randy, if that was the case and there's a treatment for it, do we still have to burn our hives?
yes, because ultimately antibiotics do not cure it. They just, it's really, antibiotics have been used over the years as a preventative. And what it does, it actually just prevents the American foul brood from fruiting and getting to the damaging stage. In other words, it masks it. So you're essentially just covering it up. Your bees still do okay because, like I said, the pathogen isn't getting to the damaging stage. But once you remove those antibiotics, then foul brood will just explode. So you can use it as a preventative, but one reason there's that directive now where you have to get it from a vet is because so many people were using it all the time as a preventative, And really, American
So
foul
would it
brood is
even be
starting
effective
to-
maybe to say queen and some brood and make a split off of it? Would you even be able to save those bees, or would it, all the bees and the equipment, if you have American foul brood confirmed, would need to be burned?
Right, bees,
Okay.
everything, and you need to dig a big old hole and bury all that.
Yeah, so
Don't
I'm
leave
glad
the
there's not too
ashes.
many cases. Whew.
Yeah, you and me both, because it's, beekeepers don't like to be told that, and I don't like telling them, because y'all have a lot of money and sweat and time and stuff put into those bees, and we understand that. But if you don't take care of it then and there, you're going to be dealing with it for the next 10 years as a beekeeper, because I've seen it happen.
Yes,
And,
sir. Thank you.
Right, you're welcome.
Any more questions? Anybody? Chris, you don't have any questions?
Everybody's quiet tonight.
They're quiet as church mice. I mean, Charles Conway hasn't made a peep. Charles Conway has not made a peep.
I'm never quiet, so whatever.
I'm listening. I'm taking all this in.
I love it. Taking it all in.
Randy
Yeah,
came to my house and we had a real good time, and he really helped me a lot. I appreciate it.
He's a pretty good fella.
Well, good.
He's not scary. That's why one of the reasons why I wanted to do this Zoom meeting is because I wanted people to know that he's not the bee police. He's not bad. He is the bee police on one hand, but he's not. He's going to do everything he can to encourage you. He's going to give you ideas as to what you can and can't do in your hive. He's going to give you a grade. By the way, Randy, what grade did I get in my apiary today?
Well, since you gave me that snack pack,
You don't want to tell people that.
Okay, so you're bribing him.
Yeah, that's bribing a public
That's
official.
bribery.
Yeah, that goes a long way,
Yeah, I'm not recording this at all. Not at all. No, don't worry about it.
I don't know.
No, Allison's bees look very good today.
Hey,
They
Randy.
did.
Randy, this is Stacy. I sure
Hey,
like
Stacy.
you to come out and visit me sometime soon.
Okay, will do. I'll call you and we'll set something up.
Sounds great. I do appreciate that, Randy.
Okay. Let's wait till it cools off about 3 degrees, though.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It was
So that's what, December?
It was pretty warm this
Yeah.
morning, and we started early this morning. It was a little warm. Both of us were sweating bullets.
I was sweating bullets just trying to get my commercial feeders going, community feeders going.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Let me ask a question.
Shoot.
How was everybody's honey harvest? Would you say overall? Most people have more than above average or what?
I had less this year.
Mine was down.
Okay.
I would say average, but I haven't gotten it all yet because I broke my arm and I can't, those things are heavy.
Who broke their
Yes,
arm?
sir.
Their arm. Who is that?
Kenny.
Kenny, what happened?
So I'm ashamed to admit this. I fell off the tractor while I was getting a swarm trap out of a tree.
Okay. Well,
Did you not hear? Wait a minute. Did we not? We had a class on that. I'm thinking about safety and don't get on things that move.
I wasn't. No, I fell from about a foot up, and I still managed to break my arm.
That just shows you how much they listen.
well, Allison and Randy, I guess I'm going to have to add the tractor phase into it. Okay, I did not mention factor of the tractor.
No, you better, because a lot of beekeepers end up on
Ladders will get
or
you too. I was going to say ladders will get you too. I wasn't that high off the ground at this
point.
point.
Ladders, I just never talked about tractors.
So
I wish I had $1.
What, Charles? What?
As I say, if you fall from about a foot, you don't expect to take a bunch of damage, but it doesn't always work out that way.
So did anybody else want to talk about how their honey harvest went?
Well,
Mine,
again,
I'm
I definitely got less this year than I did last year.
Charles Conway,
Well,
what'd
seems
you
like-
say?
Can somebody
probably
quantify that per
double mine.
hive?
Hey, Miles.
Hey,
Hello.
Miles.
Can y'all quantify like how much per hive? Because I know when you say not as much, I mean 2 tons of honey is less than your normal.
Okay.
But maybe if we can
We
figure
get
out
about
what
1,300 pounds.
some amount per hive would be a good judge for those of us who only have a few hives.
Well, I don't know if I can do that
But-
for you.
Shooting
Well,
from
I
the
was
hip,
just
I'd say
curious.
somewhere between 150 pounds a hive, 100 to 150 so far.
Wow.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good nowadays.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's
I
too
agree.
late for math.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
So,
the
I
question
assume-
is, Kenny, do you need help out there?
Right now, I'm okay doing inspections. I just can't effectively pull the supers. It
Do
can
you
sit there. It'll
need
be all
help
right.
finishing pulling your honey?
No, I'm good. It'll be all right. I mean, if the
Okay,
bees eat it,
well-
then I don't have to feed them, right?
I mean, very, very true, very true. But you've got to remember that CABA is a family. Do not hesitate to reach out for help.
Oh no. It's if I was in a bad spot, I definitely would.
Okay.
And stay off of tractors, at least for the time being.
Yes, yes.
What am I
Like
supposed to do for
everybody
fun?
here, that goes for everyone here. We are a family.
Let me say
Well-
this. I'm going to say this. If no one else has any more questions for Randy,
Hey,
I'm gonna-
Allison,
yes,
Allison.
who's speaking?
this is Teresa Lett.
Hey, girl, speak.
Hey, I have a question. Being my first year, I'm having a little bit of an issue with ants. I'm trying to be very careful and not be messy, but I still have ants around the hives. They're not on the ground, but they're around the hives. And can you give me some tips on how to take care of them?
Randy, she's talking to you. She just called my name.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're saying. In other words, you have ants crawling around on the hive body? The
They're
little bitty
on the
sugar ants?
Yeah, they're on the ground. The hives are off, they're on a platform about a foot up from the ground, but there's a lot of
Right.
ants on the ground, and I don't know if there's anything I can do to get rid of them.
Well, can anybody help her on that? Because I don't really know what
Cinnamon.
I
ants,
like cinnamon all the way. Easy,
Yeah,
cheap.
Okay, I can
What
do
I
that.
do,
So-
Teresa, what I do is I lift the outer cover, and on the top of your inner cover, around that hole, I put a circle of cinnamon.
Okay.
And, it seems like even though that's up at the top, it seems like
you
that
ever heard that?
gets them to leave the whole hive alone, period.
Okay, I can do that.
It really depends on what kind of ants you have. If they're fire ant beds around the hive, they're probably not going in the hive.
I think they're sugar ants. They're small.
Yeah.
Well, they're Argentine ants, and I mean there's still a number of varieties. It may not matter to some people, but you can identify what they are fairly easy.
Will cinnamon get rid of all the varieties?
That I can't answer. It helps me.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know on
I'm
the
gonna
cinnamon
try.
thing. I don't know on the cinnamon thing. That sounds pretty intriguing, but I've always heard tanglefoot, which is this waxy grease kind of thing that you put on the legs of your hive stands. Will
Yes.
keep them from being able to get all the way up there in the first place. So
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I've
did.
heard of that also.
Does anybody use it?
I've
I got a tub, but I hadn't had a chance to put it on mine yet, so I don't know.
It's really too much trouble to keep applying to the legs. It doesn't stay, and same with oil cups around the eggs.
around the legs. Every time it rains, you got to redo it. Most of the time, it's too much trouble.
Petroleum jelly would work the same as the Tanglefoot. But again, you have to reapply it pretty often. But you know, the cinnamon's the same way. I mean, we live in Alabama. It's ants; they're everywhere.
This is true.
What about like marine grease or something like that? I wonder if that wouldn't wash off as quick. I don't know. There's weird things you think about.
Okay, I got some ideas now. How about cinnamon and grease?
Try them all at the same time. IPM.
You could kill it with fire too. I mean, you know, whatever.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I have a question,
more
but
math
it's not
questions?
it's not for Randy. It's for Allison. That can wait.
What is the question? I am plead the fifth. Who is
No.
speaking?
It's Kenny again. No, it has nothing.
Okay.
It's not related to the meeting. It's related to the newsletter. You can wait till the end. That's fine.
Oh no, we're towards the end. I mean, if nobody else has anything. I do want to mention several things before we get ready to close. Number one thing, we are planning. I'm sorry, my dog is barking. I've got the door closed and she's not liking it very much. We are planning our picnic for November, so y'all stay close. We're going to do the picnic in November. September, we are going to do some sort of meeting, probably a Zoom meeting like this. So we're going to do that. We've got elections. We would love for someone to step up to the plate to be president of our association, vice president of our association, treasurer. We've got lots. All of our positions are open. So we're going to have a election at our picnic in November. We are going to talk about some other things that are upcoming. So y'all just kind of watch your newsletter. If everybody's continuing to get the newsletter, that's excellent. Shanna's doing an amazing job doing that for us. She gets a huge atta girl. And doing these Zoom meetings. Yes. Everybody clap for Shannon. And also our setting us up for Zoom. And, you know, we do a lot of this crazy behind the scenes stuff just so we can do an hour meeting, and it's amazing. She's amazing. She's an amazing person, and I'm so thankful for her. But you can answer your question now because we're fixing to adjourn our meeting. If no one else has any questions for Randy, Randy, I'm so thankful that you were here today, and I'm so thankful, number one, for our friendship, and number two, for our connection with bees. And you don't have anything else to say, you're welcome to leave our meeting. You're welcome to stay, but I'm very thankful for you today.
Thank you, Randy.
Well,
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
y'all are very
Thank you,
very
Randy.
welcome. It was a pleasure, and please don't hesitate to call me if you have any issues at all. I like answering the phone and trying to solve problems. So y'all have a good one, and I'll be seeing most of you sometime soon, I hope.
Thanks, Randy.
Yes, sir.
So, okay. Good night,
Good
y'all.
night.
Good night.